Supergirl reunites with Dean Cain.
Arrow takes a nap.
All of the legends take a nap.
It's time for a happy Thanksgiving because we're only going to talk about one CW DCTV show. Hello and welcome to DCTV Recap. I'm Jason Inman.
I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
That's right. Most of the shows took a nap this week, but we still got two shows. So we're going to talk about both of them. We're going to reveal our winner of last week's prize. And then we're going to read a little bit. We're going to go into some of your comments, see if you have some theories from last week, and we're going to discuss them.
Nice.
So there you go. Let's hop into the first show, Supergirl.
Supergirl, Season 2, Episode 7, The Darkest Place. Supergirl comes face-to-face with Cyborg Superman when she attempts to save Mon-El from Cadmus.
All right, let's talk about some of the good of this episode. Starting off with the very first shot, I really love seeing Supergirl come through that wall, which with the surprise turn that it looks like it's John, but you find out later that it's actually the real Hank Henshaw. What did you think?
I like that reveal because it's something that we predicted from the very first episode, that we were going to get Hank Henshaw as Cyborg Superman, and it was really cool to finally have that realized, even if it's a little bit convoluted in the storyline right now.
Yeah.
I don't really mind that. I liked everything to do with Cadmus except Mon-El. I thought that they...
We're not talking about the bad right now. We're talking about the good.
But I think they seemed like a real organization, and there's enough little Easter eggs along the way, like with the implications with the Luthors and with Jeremiah still being alive. It feels like a real conspiracy that's been there since the beginning. It doesn't feel like something...
So what specifically about that did you like, though?
I liked seeing Lillian, is that her name?
Yes, Lillian Luthor. Which is actually her name. Really, I actually double checked it. I was like, I don't know if we've ever heard her name but we have. We've heard it in Smallville.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
I liked seeing her, and I liked seeing her have more to do than just being a mustache twiddling villain. I thought she was actually very menacing, and I believe that she would be the head of that organization.
I think that Kara got some of the best lines of the night. This is something that I really liked. I love that she talked about that her cousin once worked with a vigilante who had tons of gadgets and tons of demons. And we all know that's a little somebody that's over on that shirt. I liked the look of the opposite vigilante of Guardian. At first, I saw him and I was like, oh, is he Bloodsport? I really hope he's Bloodsport because I like Bloodsport. And then I found out that he was just Barrage. I was like, oh, he's Barrage.
He's like low-rent Bloodsport.
He is low-rent. And sometimes Barrage and Bloodsport team up. So there you go.
I thought he was sort of like a low-rent vigilante, like the character that we're seeing on Arrow.
Oh, so you think Vigilante's better than him?
I do. I even think his costume design looks like a low-rent version of Vigilante's low-rent costume. So the whole time I was just like, man, Vigilante's like way better than this guy.
I also liked, there was a really, really nice shout-out to the Christopher Reeve Superman the movie. When Supergirl is flying through the air and she gets the radio message from
Lillian.
Lillian. I want to call her Liana Luthor. From Lillian Luthor. That is the exact same way that Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor called Christopher Reeve Superman in Superman the movie.
Nice. That's a really nice call out.
So I really like that. I like the reveal of the real Hank Henshaw. And what was the actor's name? David Harewood?
Yeah.
David Harewood got to play the evil Hank Henshaw. I'm going to call it asshole Hank Henshaw that he hadn't played since like the first 6 episodes of season 1 of Supergirl.
Since pre-revealing him as Martian Manhunter.
I also really appreciated Supergirl burning off his face to see the cyborg parts.
Yeah.
I actually really like it because, Cyborg Superman always has that little L right there.
He can't quite get that eyepiece to stick on.
What else did you like from this episode?
I liked all of the Alex stuff. Alex is turning out to be one of my favorite characters on the show.
Really? Because you did not like her in season 1.
I did not like her in season 1, but I think, I said this about halfway through when we were watching it, I think they're trying to make her Diggle to this cast of characters. Like, she's about 5 minutes older than the rest of them. She has more work and professional experience, but she's not as involved in the superheroing process as they are, which is a lot like Diggle was in season 1 and 2 before he became not Guardian. Spartan. I always want to say Sentinel, and it's like not. That's X-Men.
Guardian.
I'm sorry. So I just really appreciate what they're doing with her character, and I liked her scenes with Maggie. I think that's the strongest that Maggie has been this whole season as well.
100%. I love the little reveal that in Cadmus, the jail cell was made of nth metal, Thanagarian metal. Thanagarians, of course, have been revealed before.
Yes.
And talked about in the CW universe before. I also loved that Miss Martian was finally revealed in this episode, and we got a
long time coming.
We got a pretty cool Martian on Martian fight. There were a couple parts that the CGI didn't look so great, but mostly I thought it was really cool, especially when they did the shot where they were up in the air.
Well, they did the smart thing and they shot it in a dark alley, or they placed it in a dark alley.
But let's talk about the return of Superman in this episode. And by that I mean Dean Cain coming back as Jeremiah Danvers. He saves Kara. Now, I knew we were going to see him sometime this episode.
Especially when...
No, not this episode, but sometime this season.
But especially when you get delving into the Cadmus stuff. Like, you know we're leading to Jeremiah.
You know, I'll mention this as a quick brief of this, but this is more in the negatives, and I don't mean to talk about the negatives, but I was disappointed that Cadmus was just a dirty kind of underground tunnel. I expected it to be like this giant laboratory, kind of like Star Labs, but that's beside the point.
We could get there, though. This could just be their break.
Could be Cadmus subsection basement 2.
Could be an off-site facility as well.
But I loved seeing Dean Cain. I was completely surprised when he took off the hood. I did not expect it to be him, and I actually was expecting the Jeremiah Danvers reveal to be so foreshadowed that it was never going to be surprising. But this genuinely surprised me. I was so glad he was in the episode. The only part about it that I didn't like was that he was just like, I can't come with you.
Yeah, I actually thought at first that he was going to be Tyler Hoechlin's Superman.
Oh, really?
Come to save her.
Oh.
And I'm not a...
Well, actually, fair point. It was Superman.
Well, in another...
Us, Lois, and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman people, we know.
And I want to tack on that I'm not a Dean Cain fan, and I've not enjoyed him on the show, but I thought he was excellent. I thought he was super in this episode.
Listen.
And if we get more action Dean Cain, I'm in on that. That was great.
Listen, I have met Dean Cain in real life.
Is he actiony?
I don't know. He's kind of boring in real life, but he's a pleasant fellow. But I thought he was beyond pleasant in this episode. I thought he was really great. Also, I just want to point out, the very end of the episode, we get the reveal that Martian Manhunter John Jones is going to become a white Martian, and I just want to say I called it.
You did.
I called it in my predictions. You're welcome. So any other positives about this episode?
We got to see Keelix again for
I
a
forgot
brief,
to say that. And the Force of Solitude.
Second. Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the Force of Solitude. I just like the cute
Keelix.
robot.
Okay, so we don't know what the Medusa project is, but why do all Kryptonian projects have M titles? We have Myriad last season. Now we have Medusa.
They're also all Greek words. So hopefully that leads to Amazons. I don't know.
There you go. But I will say that I did not expect to see that was the reason that they wanted the blood. I
agreed.
I was immediately like, oh, they're gonna like clone Superboy. We're gonna make Bizarro.
Yeah.
Who knows what we're gonna do? But going to the Fortress of Solitude, interesting choice.
A great cliffhanger too, I think, for the episode.
Yes, and I don't know. I really liked getting to see Keelix. It's always a good time.
Always.
All right, let's talk about the bad of this episode. Anything you want to start us off with the bad? You dive deep into the bad and the good. So
right.
Let it out, sister.
I just go away, Mon-El. You're terrible. And this would have been a really great redeeming moment for this character.
Sure.
Because he has to humble himself to Kara, and he sort of has this heroic thing where he's like, no, don't save yourself from me. You know, there are hero moments here, and he didn't pull it off. And he just got captured, and like now he likes her, and I don't need Supergirl to have another love like he represents everything I don't like about the storytelling in the show. I don't blame the actor. I really blame the writing, and I think that with Wynn and Jimmy, like he just needs to go away forever.
So right now you're saying that every man on this show besides Martian Manhunter just needs to leave.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the whole core of all those characters.
Even Snapper Carr?
I
like
he
Snapper
can stick
Carr.
around. That's
okay.
fine. But all the young men, like the core of their characters is to be a love interest for Kara. She had 3 different like dates last season. And to me...
And she broke up with Jimmy in episode 1 of this season.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then when you try to force him into other roles, like with the Guardian thing, it's weird and it's convoluted because it's not the core and the purpose of the character of the show.
This is what I was going to bring up. I think that what you are railing against is that these dudes have nothing to do. I agree with you.
They have no purpose.
I don't like Mon-El, and my biggest bad of this was the whole... Like, oh, we're following Guardian. Oh, look at him. He can kick in a circle.
We really all, like, had to stand up for Guardian as if we're convincing ourselves in the audience as much as everyone else that, like, Guardian is worth having around.
The whole episode was more about Guardian than Cadmus, and Cadmus should have been the main storyline.
It's way more interesting.
Yeah. Even I thought the fight at the end between Guardian and Barrage, where they kept doing this spinning camera shot, and it was just like, I can't tell what's happening in this fight. It's such a wide shot, and the camera's moving so fast, and they decided to put shelves in the front of it, and I just couldn't tell what was going on. But that's what I think is responding to with Jimmy, because, like, again, Jimmy, right now, we predicted this last season, too. Catco right now is useless.
It is.
There is no reason to have Catco.
And Wynn doesn't even work there, and he's always there. And last season he didn't work at the DEO.
He was always
at
there.
The DEO.
Yeah, so it's like Wynn finally got a purpose.
Yeah.
He finally got a purpose with the DEO, but now we're doing this weird thing where we're splitting the team apart. Like, John only gets stuff to do with Miss Martian now.
Yeah. Wynn and Jimmy are off doing their
thing. Wynn and Jimmy are doing Guardian stuff. And then Alex is always doing stuff with Maggie Sawyer. So the DEO isn't really going on missions anymore.
They're not a cohesive team.
Yes.
They're like a bunch of disparate characters. Yeah. They need a sole focus that is not romantic based in order, I think, to get them all back on track.
Now, I 100% like I did not like anything Guardian in this. I thought the suit looked a little bit better in this episode. I don't know if they tweaked it, but I will say this. I'm tired of the alien bar.
Me too.
And it's weird that they're always hanging out there.
I'm tired of the conceit that it's been there all along, because we should have seen it last season. And that could be a fault of the new production and where they moved and whatever, but it's too weird. It's too far a sidestep away from the story we were telling with Kara in season 1.
I will also say, too, that I brought it out last week. I'm going to bring it out again. They did a slow-mo fight with Supergirl again.
Yes, they did.
That looked very slow-mo. The fight between Cyborg Superman and Kara was just so slow-mo, and they were like falling in pillars, and they looked like they were made out of foam.
I mean, they probably were.
Well, I don't know. I'm saying, I'm just saying this, Supergirl. Not this in Flash. They do this thing called Flash time. It's every time that the Flash slows down to super slow motion. They did it on Smallville too, but for Smallville they only did it for like one movement. They didn't do it for a whole fight. Flash tends to do it for a whole fight. That effect, I feel, does not work on Supergirl.
I wonder if she has a new stunt double, and you actually see a good chunk of the stunt double's face.
Yeah, because it's not the woman who like,
it's not
won
American
in
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe she's not as well versed as her previous stunt double, or I wonder if they can't afford her on as many days, which is why we're seeing less capable fighting from Supergirl, who should only be getting better.
Fighting that actually happens at real speeds or super speeds. Yeah, we're seeing all slow-mo fights. Okay, also, again, this is another thing. I'm not like a Mon-El. I really don't like that Mon-El is like, oh, I want to date Kara.
I mean, you could see it coming a mile away, but it's still just bad when it happens.
Hi, Kara.
And then, like, having him say it to the other two guys in the scene who've been pining after her for like 20 plus episodes now is just so late on.
Yeah.
It was just silly.
Yeah, I don't know. There was some weird, there was a lot in this episode.
I think it's because we have one more episode before the giant crossover, so I wonder if we're not
No, next week is the crossover for Supergirl.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe they only had Melissa Benoist's on a more compressed schedule.
Oh, fair point.
So they were like, Guardian.
So it's interesting. We may also as well. Next episode might be very light. Oh, you might be exactly right, because last week we talked about how it was weird how Stephen Amell was not in like the first half of the episode. So we might have stumbled onto the. You might be able to figure out when these actors were filming the crossover.
Send me their production schedules.
Because I bet you they shot the crossover over like 2 weeks.
I think so.
And they probably shot other episodes at the same time.
Yeah.
So you might have stumbled upon it. Okay, let's talk about our rating for Supergirl between 1 to 5, 5 being the best. What would you give this episode of Supergirl?
Okay, so there is
called The Darkest Place.
The Darkest Place. There is a ton going on in this episode. There's probably too much, and there's not enough focus on Kara and or Cadmus, but I think the beats that we got that weren't Guardian-centric were really, really good.
Okay.
I actually really enjoyed this episode. It's one of the better ones this season, so I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. I dug it. I dug it a lot.
Yeah. I liked it better than the Parasite episode. I as well would give it a 3. I would say that because there was so much in it, we didn't get to stick around too much with the stuff that didn't work.
Yeah.
And we moved on to a scene that did work. And also, Dean Cain is an obvious thumbs up for me. So
he was really good.
He was really good. And so, like, nothing less than a 3 for Mr. Dean Cain. That's what I'm going to say.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay, sure. We'll see. We'll find out. How it okay, do you have a prediction for the future of Supergirl?
Okay, so I do have a prediction for the future of Supergirl. I think that we are going to see a Supergirl Miss Martian knockdown drag-out fight in the next 5 episodes, because we saw Jean throw him again in jail, and he's like, I'm gonna leave you here forever, blah. And I think that instead of having Supergirl let her out, it would be more interesting to have McGann force her way out and reveal herself to everyone as a white Martian.
Interesting.
And then Supergirl misunderstanding the situation, taking her on.
Well, now I think everybody knows that she's a white Martian because she's in the jail cell in the DEO.
But we haven't had Hank or Jean tell everyone yet. It's just the 2 of them.
Okay.
So
all right, I'll give you it. I'm gonna assume that they all know. Since she's in the DEO.
I'm not.
I'm gonna assume there's a little placard that like blinks, like white Martian, white Martian. So there you go.
What do you think is coming up for Supergirl?
I think that Cyborg Superman is not long for this show.
I agree.
I honestly think that Cyborg Superman will not last past next episode.
Ooh.
One, simply for the practicality of the actor having to play 2 characters on the same episode is a little...
I also wonder if they did that because they were like, well, we like you and we don't have Melissa, so just do twice as much work this week.
Yeah. Which interesting. And that leads me to my other part of my prediction. Mm-hmm. I think we are dealing with the John Jones being a white Martian next week.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that next week is going to be David Harewood versus David Harewood. It's going to be white Martian Manhunter versus Cyborg Superman. Fight.
10 out of 10. I'm totally down for that.
And I think we're gonna knock both problems out by the end of next episode.
Love it. Yep. I also am looking forward to when Jean is reunited with Jeremiah. I think that's gonna be a really powerful scene. The 2 father figures.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about this week's Flash episode.
The Flash, Season 3, Episode 7, Killer Frost. The team is in for a shock as Caitlin is forced to reveal her Killer Frost powers. But she's not the only one with a secret.
Whoa! Now, this, of course, was the Kevin Smith directed episode. There's a lot of stuff in it, and there's so much stuff in it. That's why we decided to do a specific recap all about that. There's a little card that's coming up on the right side of the screen. You click it, it'll take you right to that video. You can check it out. We talk we break down every single thing about that episode, and then also we give our theories and our ratings. We were like in the middle of the road on this episode, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And since there is, we're going right into the crossover, I thought let's give a little quick prediction about what we think the Flash is going to do in the crossover. Would you like to go first?
I'll go first.
That's next week. Heroes versus Aliens.
So I think that we are going to see a marriage of the behind-the-scenes folk. Most of these people have an active half, and
Wedding bells?
I beg your pardon?
Wedding bells?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought the crossover was going to become romantical.
It is in the Arrow episode, according to those pictures. But most of them have like an active and sort of like a more passive side. Mm-hmm. And so I think Felicity is going to team up with either Cisco or Caitlin.
Oh, nice.
And in like a very active way. And then I'm pretty sure, because it's too good not to do it, that Cisco's going to wind up on the Wave Rider. Yeah. Even if he's just standing there like, wow, man.
That makes sense.
It would be super fun.
I think you're going to have a lot of characters seeing the Wave Rider that you wouldn't expect. I think going into the crossover, especially for Flash. Batman character, year 1, look it up.
Good call.
I think the Flash I think Barry's going to be the main meat of the crossover. I really think the crossover is going to be focused around Barry Allen. I think he's going to be like the main character, and I kind of think that they're going to deal with a lot of stuff from him. Now, whether that means that his powers are like the best to defeat the Dominators, or whether like some sort of Flash pointiness is going to come up in that, because like
I think so.
We still know that Diggle doesn't know about his child switching genders.
Yeah,
basically.
And we know that Cisco's still really mad about what happened with Dante.
Yeah, so like I think a lot of this crossover is going to be based around the Flash. So that's a good thing.
I agree.
All right. So since there is no Arrow this week and no Legends of Tomorrow, we thought we would jump into some of your comments and also reveal who won the prize from last week.
Yes.
First comment that we had from last week that also is going to reveal who won the Midnighter trade paperback is from Hugo Pereira. Sorry, Hugo. He said, as much as I love Parasite and Supergirl's episode was strong, Arrows barely had any flaws. The flashbacks are finally strong again, and even though we know that Oliver will come out alive, they give the sense that his life is actually at stake. Kovar is such a brute force. What do you think about that? Do you agree with Hugo, our midnight winner? Real quick, Hugo, to get your midnight or trade pay rec, a lot of people have been asking me this. They're like, how do I send you a message through YouTube? Go to the main page of my channel. And there's a little about section. Click on about, you'll see a send me a message. That's how you do it. Very simple. So Hugo, do that. Get your midnight or trade pay rec. Ashley, what do you think about Hugo's topics? He's talking a lot of Kovar.
I think that Hugo made a great point. I think we talked during the episode about how much we like Kovar, and I do really love that the flashback matters, and I think that's what he's hitting on there. When the flashbacks matter and when they heighten the main thrust of the storyline, Arrow's just a better show.
Yes, totally. J. Lou has a big prediction. Prometheus is Ra's al Ghul back for revenge. He knows Oliver and all his friends. He knows the list and has dressed in an Arrow costume before to frame/mock Ollie. Now, that is a very interesting point.
It is.
Ra's al Ghul did do that in season 3. But for me, I would be so disappointed if this was Ra's al Ghul. I think we've been down that road and he's dead.
The current Ra's al Ghul, though, is Malcolm Merlyn, who is someone that we have
actually
posited around before.
Not anymore, because the League of Assassins was broke up last season.
That's true.
So there is no Ra's al Ghul. They have been disbanded. Remember that was a big episode last week with Nyssa.
That's right.
But we do know that Talia al Ghul is coming back in the season, played by Alexa Doig, I believe is how you say her name, from Stargate. And so I wonder how that will fit into
continuity.
Yeah. What do you think about Ra's al Ghul? Do you think it could be Ra's al Ghul?
It could be Ra's al Ghul. I feel like every time I think I have a good handle on who Prometheus is, they throw in something to confuse me, which I'm really impressed by. I'd be okay if it was Ra's al Ghul. I'd be okay with that.
Coolest YouTube name ever goes to the Danny Deathstroke.
Nice.
He says, I have a theory for Legends.
Okay.
In the Legends episode for the 4-part crossover, Booster Gold will show up with both Captain Cold and Rip Hunter in tow. That or Rip and Snart will show up by themselves, and when asked where they will say they were saved by a time traveler who called themselves Booster Gold. Danny Deathstroke, I love your passion. I love your enthusiasm. I don't think there's a chance in hell that Danny Deathstroke, there's a chance that you might show up. There's a better chance of you showing up in that episode than Booster Gold. What do you think?
Well, we do know that Booster Gold is earmarked for a movie, which means he's probably untouchable. Although, I thought the same thing about Superman, so maybe. I would love it if we got all 3 of those characters. I would love it if we just got Snart and Rip Hunter back. From the void, from wherever they currently are doing whatever it is
wherever
that they're doing.
he weirdly is.
They could come back and be space boyfriends. Like, I'd be cool with that too. That would be a great way, I think, to fold them back into the Legends team during this crossover.
Dark Dennis 1961 actually has a dark comment. He says, Supergirl jumped the shark. Rest in peace, a once really great show.
Get out of town.
Yeah, I completely disagree with this comment.
I respectfully disagree with this comment.
I think Supergirl has never been better.
Yeah.
Now, season 1 is rough. It is so rough.
There are some really good things about season 1.
There are episodes that are good.
Bizarro's really good.
But so far, I think that we are so far into like a much better season.
I think so too. I think season 2 of Supergirl definitely stands up better than season 1.
Mm-hmm. Dustin Osborne says, Arrow was the best of last week. These last 3 episodes are just kicking it. The only thing I didn't like was Artemis. I loved her in Young Justice. I really wanted her character to have a chance to be awesome. All right, let's talk about that. Because I had a person in the comments also be like, man, they're not following the Artemis storyline. And I was like, there is no Artemis storyline. The only Artemis is Young Justice. Thank you for backing me up on
You're welcome. She's derivative of a character named Arrowette. But who's a really minor character and doesn't really have a strong standalone storyline either.
Who never goes evil.
Yeah, so she's kind of following a Cheshire storyline.
Sort of.
Who is Artemis' sister in Young Justice, but there is no Artemis storyline.
Sean Gordon has a very interesting theory, only partly because it backs up one of my theories.
Oh.
What if we find out Walter is Evelyn's godfather, which explains why Walter would turn on Oliver? That could tie it together.
As long as Walter's involved, I'm on board. He's so fantastic, and he's a character who really in the beginning had nothing to do and then became really important.
Mm-hmm. Would you be okay with, ever since I put out this Walter theory, I'm more and more like in love with it. Mm-hmm. What would you think if, Talia al Ghul shows up, and she brings, and Walter's
her boyfriend.
Walter's like her first in command, and you learn that after the death of Moira, Walter kind of did a similar journey to Malcolm Merlyn.
Interesting.
Would you be okay with? Now that actor is fantastic.
Yeah.
So like, would you find that within the realm of believability that Walter did something like that?
No.
Okay.
Because
but then you still want Prometheus to be Walter.
I still want him, but when I think about Walter, and like Walter really goes out of his way to be good to Oliver and to make him feel like a friend, if not a son. Like Walter's a really good stepfather. He's a really good dude. He takes a phenomenal amount of crap from everyone around him.
But you don't think that if Walter found out that Oliver was the Green Arrow who got his wife killed, you don't think that would change things?
I don't think so. But if he showed up as Prometheus, I could get over that.
Interesting, because I
just like him.
Well, because I think it would, and also I think too as well that since it's been like 3.5 years,
it's been some time.
That is plenty enough time for him to get the training that he needs to be able to do this. I also think that Flashpoint might tie into this somehow, and that Walter's past might have been changed.
See, if it's a Flashpoint thing, I can go with it a little bit more.
Well, what if you find out that like Walter never married Moira in this universe ever?
That would make me sad, but I could believe that Walter was always a part of the League of Assassins.
Ooh.
And that maybe he was a plant to marry Moira.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Final comment of the video. Clover Turing says, I think that Prometheus is Joey Wilson, also known as Jericho in the comics. He is the son of Deathstroke and was mentioned in the first season. I think Joey is out for revenge against Oliver for what he did to his father. Okay, I would be fine with that. I would be totally fine.
Yep.
Diving deep into the comic books, still has a connection to season 1, which is great. And he is correct. Slade on the Island mentions Joey. In fact, it's the only son that he's ever mentioned. He never mentions Grant, and he never mentions Rose. He only mentions Joey.
Do you make him super powered? Like, is he Jericho, or is he just Joseph Wilson?
Well, I mean, you could call him Jericho, but I wouldn't give him Jericho's powers of being all the body jumping. I would just give him like the Marikulu.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like which would make him super, or I would just make him super ninja, because this is Arrow and we don't need superpowers.
Yeah, that's true.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. We don't need superpowers on Arrow.
So go down there and leave us a comment about your favorite DCTV theory. And guys, don't forget to click subscribe. And then also head on over to patreon.com/Jawiin if you want lots of exclusive stuff and you want to see some of these videos early, because we love that kind of stuff. Hey, you shouldn't sleep. We got a crossover coming next week.
It's the wedding of Oliver and Barry.
Just go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. We don't need it. Stay asleep till the crossover.